The truth is that in addition to my interest in the theoretical issues and how these two traditions can talk to each other and help each other, in my own personal experience as a Buddhist and as someone in analysis and doing analytic training, I consistently felt that I needed both traditions. So in my Buddhist practice, all of my own neuroses and personal struggles were underscored. I felt them very acutely. It almost felt like there was less of a screen or less of a filter, and I felt that I needed another system to address the psychological content that was coming up in the Buddhist practice. Because the Buddha Dharma is profound and profoundly healing, but it does not have a doctrine of early childhood experience, nor is it necessarily intended to help people parse their psyche or their psychological content. That's not its primary goal. So as a Westerner, I was aware that there was another system that might actually help me deepen my Buddhist practice, because I could see that many American Buddhists, and I include myself in this group, would have a tendency to get caught in what was coming up, the psychological content that was coming up in the Buddhist practice, and we would stop there. It wasn't deepening to the extent that it could. And I'm very lucky that I work with a Buddhist teacher who is friendly to Western psychology, and though he is a Tibetan, he was not averse to his students using other tools. So I was also able to talk to him about the fact that the Dharma was profoundly influential in my life, and there were times when I felt like it was pointing to needs that perhaps could be met by another system. At the same time, in my analytic work as a client, I was aware that the very depth of exploring my own psyche was sometimes overwhelming, and it seemed to call for another system that could just hold the affect, could hold the intensity of the feeling that comes up through that kind of work. And that's not the primary intention of Western psychology or psychoanalytic help, to contain and really create a way to sit with strong feeling. Its goal is to integrate the split off feelings so that you're functioning better in the relational world. But once you leave the analyst's office, you've got the rest of the week or the next few days to somehow tolerate the feelings that have come up, and meditation helps. I have many friends and colleagues who have talked about needing a therapist to help them process what comes up in their therapy. And I think often, really what they're wanting is a spiritual or religious community or practice to help them do that. I also think that there's still a bias in psychotherapy whereby the goal is to help the client get their needs met, which is not a bad goal, but I think ultimately Western psychology has stopped short of understanding that people best get their needs met through being more attuned to the needs of others and feeling in connection with others. There's still a struggle to somehow humanize the other and make their needs as relevant as the client's needs. So I found that bias present in my own analytic experience. And I found that there was a tendency to reduce everything I was experiencing to my personal history and the struggles or the traumas, whatever it is that I was working through, rather than the extent to which I could get curious about others and somehow transcend the trappings of my own mind. So in both of those worlds, in my own personal experience, I felt that the process was deepened and supported through tools only offered in the contrasting tradition. And that was the real incentive for writing this book, was just to affirm that I think that's a common experience, especially for American Buddhists and for Westerners in psychotherapy, that the work is profound, it's life-changing, but neither system necessarily has all the answers. And that the answers that are there, or the tools that are there, are strengthened often by some curiosity about the other system.